For more on this, as well as other top political stories of the week, we're now joined by the SABC News senior politics reporter, that's Ntebo Mokobo, who joins us now in studio. Thank you so much, Mr. Mokobo, for your time. It's always great to chat. So let's start. First things first, right? We just heard now the former Deputy Minister for Justice there saying that his words were misconstrued. And this is as the Ntebo Commission also continues to go about its work. Let's get your reaction to that and what you make of that.
Well, indeed. I think it would be appropriate. Good evening and good evening to the viewers at home. Policy. It would be appropriate really for the former Deputy Minister to clarify his position, because people are hurt, especially those who lost their loved ones during the days of the brutal system of apartheid. And especially if you look at what Lukhanyo Galata has been saying. He has been a lone voice, especially when it comes to the Craddock Four trying to get justice for his father. Sometimes you need to walk a mile on the shoes of those who felt the pain. Losing a father in a brutal way, you would understand where he comes from. And anything that seeks to undermine the quest for justice for the death of his father, really, it's painful. And sometimes people say it's an indictment that 32 years into our democracy, 30 years after the adoption of the South Africa's constitution, some people are still longing for justice. And people wonder why South Africa not so reconciled, despite the fact that at some point we had the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. It is because some of those atrocities and those who meted out those atrocities are the most vulnerable of this country. Even today, they're still walking the solid earth without any semblance of remorse and even prosecution. And this is where we are in South Africa today. And the minister was indeed expected to clarify, because people are not happy, and even Lukhanyo Galata and the rest of the people who lost their loved ones want justice.
Indeed. And this is also quite a very important one. And let's just move on now to the Madlanga Commission. A lot has happened there throughout the course of this week. The IDAC Head, Andrea Johnson, there giving testimony. Although the testimony was widely accepted, but it was also subjected to a lot of scrutiny. Let's talk about that insofar as the narrative that continued to appear to be shifting at some stage. What should we make of it?
Well, the Madlanga Commission, as many people have said, I think it's an opportunity for South Africa to really salvage what is left of when it comes to our law enforcement agents in the country. And this opportunity presents itself in different ways at the Madlanga Commission. For instance, if you look at the IDAC is one arm of the NPA that is meant to really investigate serious crime like corruption. But if you look at the conduct of IDAC, especially the ones that have been laid bare at those hearings, you find a compromised IDAC. And I think calling the head of the IDAC was again an opportunity for her to come and salvage what is left of IDAC, if there is anything. And if you listen to what was said, if you have the head of IDAC saying, even apologizing, she went to the extreme of apologizing, just for denying someone with proper qualifications, without even seeing those qualifications, and saying that that person is a token appointment. That on its own says a lot about the institution that is somewhat not doing the constitutional mandate or the constitutional prescripts that is expected of an institution like that. So it will continue to unravel what really these institutions are all about. And it's a sad situation that we have in South Africa, where you have institutions that are meant to really maintain law and order, being at the forefront of reducing a country into something else, as opposed to the constitutional democracy that was espoused and that was really crafted in 1994.
And this has also prompted the conversations to sway more towards also just people wanting to know How much of this was about Andrea Johnson as a head of such an important and critical institution, and how much of it was about exposing some of the gaps and the inefficiencies in the structures, particularly when we look at IDAC itself and when we look at institutions that are tasked with such a huge responsibility?
You see, if at the center of this tug of war, I would say, is the head of crime intelligence. I mean, crime intelligence in the country is not just a mere position. That's a serious position. It's a position that even eclipses that of the Minister of Intelligence. So the fight is about heading the crime intelligence unit. And that's why we say what is happening. People want to either lead or have their people leading the crime intelligence unit. And that's where the problem is. And there are sort of counter narratives, especially when it comes to those who are against Andrea Johnson. Those who are against Andrea Johnson are perceived as people who really want to deal with IDAC so that they can continue with the looting of the slush funds of the intelligence department or the crime intelligence. Those are those who are countering that. Yeah. And those who are against Dumisani Khumalo and his ELGO, Dumisani Khumalo, the head of crime intelligence, are seen to be people who are saying, or are perceived as people who are saying, you need to remove these people in IDAC. I mean, you need to deal with the likes of Dumisani Khumalo and his ilk, so that at least we will protect some criminal syndicates that are investigated by the head of crime intelligence or the crime intelligence unit. So it's all about that. So it's all about the battle and the fight over the heart and soul of the crime intelligence unit.
Sure, and there were also some developments to come out of the Western Cape today. You know, let's talk about the ruling there and how does this really affect the balance of power, you know, between the courts as well as Parliament. Does it sort of, you know, reinforce judicial oversight, or does it risk limiting sort of Parliament's constitutional powers going forward?
Well, I think it's this is a democracy coming of age. We are a constitutional democracy. I'm not a politician. I'm just a politics reporter. And what the Western Cape High Court has done was expected in law. The Constitutional Court, I think one thing that some politicians seem to be missing is that the Constitutional Court instructed that there must be an impeachment committee, and that impeachment committee must start like today, and it must start today without taking into consideration that the law has to unfold in terms of whether the person that is being accused has the right to appeal or to take that panel report on review. It was expected that ultimately the president would take that on appeal or on review. It has to happen. Yeah. The Constitutional Court can't stop that. So some people are quoting the Constitutional Court to have said the impeachment committee has to start. Yes, it has to start according to the Constitutional Court, but the Constitutional Court never said the president doesn't have the right to apply or to take the matter on review. So it was expected that at some point it will have to be taken on review. For now, it's put on abeyance. It will continue as soon as that matter has been ventilated, especially the hearing, the application has been ventilated in court.
And just a quick one, we're almost out of time for this conversation. We know that the African National Congress is finalizing its mayoral candidates ahead of, for the metros, ahead of these all-important election that's coming up. What are you hearing in your circles at this stage?
Well, that matter has been on the table for some time. I think the ANC is just allowing people to say whatever they want to say about the mayoral candidates. Yeah. But it is expected that sometime next week, in early August, they should be coming up with the names, and sometime on the 9th, I think, there will be an announcement. That announcement will happen somewhere in Soweto, and there's going to be a launch. A launch will happen somewhere in Diepsloot. So those things are still in the offing in terms of who's likely to lead, to be the mayoral candidate in the 8 metros and the 22 secondary cities. But we know that, there are a number of names that have been bandied around, especially here in Johannesburg. We know that The regional chairperson, Louis Omasuku, is booping and woofing on the corner. And we know that some people wanted the likes of Frank Chikane, the Reverend, to become the mayor of Johannesburg. But the ANC is denying all that. Even Jabu Muleketi, the former MEC and the former Deputy Finance Minister, is also being touted as one who can take over in Johannesburg. But I mean, the ANC is denying all those things. They're saying that only when the time comes, the ANC will see.
Certainly be keeping a very close eye on that as it continues to unfold. In the meantime, I must thank you so much for your time and insights on the program. That's SABC News senior politics reporter Ntebo Mokobo joining us there for that. Here's a quick break. We're back with you straight after this.